It's very, very exciting for the Hertfordshire Chamber of Commerce to join up with our Lord-Lieutenant Robert Voss for this is the first Queen's Award launch that we've undertaken. We were hoping to do this live at Brocket Hall in March, but however, now we're on Zoom and I'm sure it'll be absolutely fabulous. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our chairman, Jeremy Bishop, who will have a few words to say before we go on to the programme.
Morning, Lord Lieutenant, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Maybe like me, you'd heard of the Queen's Award and you were aware of a certain mystique and apparent kudos around it. Almost certainly you thought that it's probably not for us. Today we want to take away that mystique, that perception, and convince you that the Queen's Award is absolutely about you and your business, perhaps now more than ever before. I took on the chair role of Hertfordshire Chamber of Commerce last year. I wanted to demystify this award and make it more accessible and understandable for Hertfordshire businesses. The Queen's Award is one of the most prestigious business awards in the whole world, and it's a tremendous recognition to those who achieve it. We want to help more of you through that process and ultimately more of you to win the Queen's Award. So today you're going to hear from our valuable supporters, the Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire, our event sponsor, the Hertfordshire LEP, and some previous winners of Queen's Awards. You're also going to hear a lot more about the Hertfordshire Chamber of Commerce's Queen's Award workshops. These are specifically designed to benefit you and assist you and your business through the process of applying for, and I trust to win this renowned business award. Achieving a Queen's Award will definitely elevate your brand. It will drive significant internal and external recognition for your business. A Queen's Award really is a true mark of excellence. Thank you very much, and I'd like to hand over to Mark from the LEP.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a great pleasure to be here as lead sponsor, along with our colleagues from the Chamber of Commerce and also with the Lord Lieutenant, who's a great representative for us for the county. I'm the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership in Hertfordshire, but I'm also the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership Network, which brings together all 38 LEPs in England. And I thought that given everything that's going on at the moment, you'd be really interested to get a snapshot view of the work that LEPs are doing nationally, but also to bring that alongside the key drive that's come right out of the centre of government to put business and growing our way out of the crisis right at the centre. I was on a business leaders call with the Prime Minister and the Business Secretary straight after he addressed the country the Sunday before last. And I sit on Simon Clarke's Economic Recovery Group, along with some of the Metro mayors like Sadiq Khan, Andy Street and Andy Burnham, looking at how to address the next few months. So if I could have the next slide, please. So I think today what I'd like to talk to you about, as well as reinforcing our commitment to the Queen's Award for Enterprise, are three things really. How we're helping businesses to survive today, and we're doing a lot of work, not least with the chambers through our growth hubs in that. Some of the thinking about recovering tomorrow, and some of the messages about rebuilding our future. Next slide, please. So I just thought it might just be worthwhile, just a couple of slides on, well, what are LEPs all about? Because some of you will know the Hertfordshire LEP, but very few of you will probably have taken in the whole of the LEP landscape in England. And we aren't only just in England. The devolved powers have their own approach to driving local growth. It was set up by Michael Heseltine just short of 10 years ago to be commercially led business disruptors and catalysts for local growth. We've been entrusted with some 18 billion of public funds drawn from UK and EU sources, and managed to pull in about 8 billion from the private sector on top of that. About 300 million of that public sector money has come to Hertfordshire. And if you look at some of the town centre regeneration work in Stevenage, the collaboration that we've done with the university into cell and gene therapy up in Stevenage and across into Hatfield, and some of the infrastructure work very locally, Hatfield Station. There's a long list of things that we've done to make local impact And if you go right into the centre of Hatfield town now, the old centre, you'll see how different that is. And at one end, you'll see a nice little plaque that says, "Thank you to Hertfordshire LEP." There's quite a lot going on here. We're judged on the outputs that we create, whether they're in terms of jobs or homes or skills. But our growth hubs, I think, is where this really comes to ground and land firmly here. We supported 900,000 businesses across the country last year. It's going to be very interesting to see what that looks like now, given all the support that we've been putting in during the crisis. Go to the next slide, please. So we are a fairly unique blend. We are the bridge between business and government in all its forms, by which I mean central and local government. There's 180 locally elected councillors. We have 4 on the Hertfordshire LEP board, including David Williams, the county council's leader. We work very closely with higher and further education, so representatives from the university and one of the FE colleges, and a number of business leaders are on the board, and they're drawn from right across the spectrum, whether that's large-scale businesses like BT or some of the smaller enterprises, because in Hertfordshire, as we know, more than 60,000 businesses are present, and by definition, a lot of them are small and medium companies, and they are very different, as you know better than me, to driving large corporations, and it's very important that voice is heard. We are apolitical, which I think puts us in a very strong position to come to government with some very constructive input, particularly at the current time. And we've got access to some really terrific business leaders who've got some fantastic sector skills that we're going to need as we start to drive our way out of the current challenges. And our primary goal is very simple, which is to drive clean, sustainable local economic growth and inclusive prosperity across the country. And I think if there's one thing that's coming out of the crisis, it's the importance of climate and sustainability and inclusivity in our future plans. Have the next slide, please. So just to finish on the LEP network, just to give you a flavour, all 38 LEPs came together. I took over chair in September, having put the plan together to refresh the network. We've set ourselves up in a regionalised way. We sit in the Southern Group, which is the kind of donut around London, probably driving some of the most significant tax revenues from the country. But when you start to take a look at that region, yes, there are some very strong, prosperous areas, but we also have some very significant areas of deprivation. So we are also a microcosm for what LEPs are trying to achieve. We work very closely with MHCLG, Housing, Communities and Local Government, and Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. We span those 2 directorates, which puts us, again, in a very key position to bring together government and business. And I say we're right now at the centre of things. And all those workplace guides that you saw launched in the last couple of weeks, the 8 that came out just after the Prime Minister's announcement, we've had a hand in that, as I know have a number of other businesses across the country. Something like 1,000 people contributed to developing those procedures. And as well as working on the crisis, we're also making sure that the work that is done across the country is shared, and there's a very strong element of collaboration. So things that we do very well in Hertfordshire, we share with our colleagues in the north and vice versa, to make sure that we're really bringing the best business and constructive input to the way in which we're driving our industrial strategies. And you may recall, some of you, the launch of our local industrial strategy consultation a little while back that has given us a very strong economic evidence base, which we're working on now, as you'll see, because that is going to be the basis from which we're able to plan for the next steps and also make sure that we have something solid against which to measure the interventions which we're making. If I could go on to the next slide, please. So just talking a little bit more before I focus a little bit on Hertfordshire, just some of the things that we're doing today. We managed to squeeze some extra funding out of government for growth hubs. Just to give you context, that's nearly double what growth hubs were getting before out of the centre. So that's a big step, and that's on its way into us now, which allows us to increase capacity. It also allows us to help local authorities find the businesses that they've got all this grant money for. And you'd have seen something like 12 billion has been allocated to local authorities to bring work for businesses. It's very difficult in some cases to find those businesses to pay them, because normally the businesses are paying the councils. So there's been quite a bit of work to help land the more difficult lists here. We've also been trying to find ways to review how we allocate some of the funding so we can put some very quick interventions in. As you'll see in a minute, we've launched some interventions in Hertfordshire. I think across England, there's probably 100 initiatives that the LEP community has put in place in the last 2 months to help really focused support for local businesses, taking into account the needs of those regions and making sure that they complement the government schemes, but also where we've seen gaps, and you'll all have seen gaps appearing in all the different schemes, that we've taken the voice of business back into Whitehall. And you will have seen, and the chambers have done this very well as well, you would have seen some changes that have been made as a result of the feedback. And if you consider how quickly some of these schemes have been put together, I think it's not a surprise that we need to make some tweaks along the way. Next slide, please. This is my penultimate slide, really, just to bring this right close to home. So in the last month, we've launched 3 schemes here. They're very targeted at the sectors and at the needs that we see in the county based upon our evidence base. The details are clearly available on the website, but we can make sure that they're available to you for those that are interested. We've made sure as well that we've increased capacity in the Growth Hub, and we've seen a whole range of supporting seminars and so on that the Growth Hub, with support of the Chambers and the University, have been running for local businesses, taking advantage of the sort of technology that we've got now, which I think is very important to us. We've been involved at county level to make sure that the business voice is heard in the local resilience forum, so that as people are planning from local government interventions, they've really understood what local businesses need, particularly as we start to consider the return of children to school, which as business people we know is a key item to unlock people's ability to return to work. One of the missions I took, as Breege will know, is to significantly increase our collaboration with the business representative organisations. I came and spoke to Adam Marshall's chief execs a couple of weeks ago. We're working closely with each of these so that we get a coordinated voice into government. And we're very lucky in the county because, as well as my role nationally in the LEP Network, David Williams, the county leader, is the chair of the County Councils Network, which brings nearly 40 county councils together to provide a voice. So where are we going next in terms of recovery? Well, we're dusting down the evidence bases in the local industrial strategy, recognising that what we planned only a few months ago has been really hit by a good sidewinder and needs to be updated. We're working very heavily on that at the moment to make sure that as we start to plan the next steps for this and determine where our interventions might be, that they're really relevant to today, and we will consult on that. I think skills is going to be a key challenge. We did quite a piece of work in the network to make sure that support for apprenticeship providers financially wasn't lost, because there was some danger of that. But clearly there are going to be some people who, despite everybody's best efforts, are going to find themselves without work. And so what we'll need to do to help people to transition from this, I think, is going to be very key. But also making sure, as I said at the beginning, that we do take the best from the crisis and ensure that the distinctive strengths that we have in Hertfordshire are built on, not lost, and that we work very hard to generate confidence for everybody. So I'm just going to close with the next slide, please. I think it's fair to say that around meetings like this, collectively, we have the best knowledge of our local economies. That can't come from Whitehall. That has to come from local people, local businesses, and the LEP will do its best to pull this together to make sure that as we plan our way out of this, it's really relevant to what we're going to do. But we know that work is going to be very different, and it should be different. But not everybody can work from home. And so getting that blend right and making sure that we generate the confidence for people and the support for people and the guidance for employers to help people safely return for work is absolutely critical. I see businesses' job is to create that hope and ambition, the LEP being at the centre of that, getting the right interventions made. And I think I just want to echo some of the words that Boris Johnson said to us back in Sunday before last. He's determined that the government will strengthen its agenda to grow our way out of the crisis. He wants to involve business very firmly. He will grow, but he will not do this at the expense of public health. And I think getting that balance right is going to be a very tricky thing to do. We've got a role to play here. I've really welcomed the opportunity to speak to you today. I know we're going to have time to take questions, but it's very easy to get hold of me. I just want to congratulate everybody who's involved in today's event, and also to wish you good, safe, and healthy business in the future. Breach, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Mark. Now we'll move on to the Queen's Award presentation, and this is presented by our Lord-Lieutenant of Hertfordshire, Mr. Robert Voss CBE.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. And thank you to both Jeremy and Breach for inviting me. This discussion started, oh goodness, probably best part of a year ago. And I thought it was very pertinent that we tried to see or educate people into the Queen's Award for Enterprise, because as Jeremy pointed out right at the beginning, it's a bit of an unknown process, and I think it's something that really everybody should be aware of, all companies. I know when I ran my own business and somebody mentioned once, what about looking at the Queen's Award for Enterprise, I shied away and said, well, don't be ridiculous, you know, we're an SME, how can we possibly even think about it? So as we will see, that's not necessarily relevant. And also huge thanks to Mark for not only for his presentation, but for the amazing work that he is doing with the LEP here in Hertfordshire and nationally. It's wonderful that we have such representations as Mark and David Williams at national level for Hertfordshire. So appreciate the work that you're doing, Mark, as well. Okay, can we move on to the first slide, please? So a little bit of history of the Queen's Award. It was first chaired by the Duke of Edinburgh, and it was basically his thinking that went behind it. And the first awards were made in 1966. And in 1975, the Duke again chaired a scheme, and the awards became known as the Queen's Awards for Export and Technology, and then became known as the Queen's Awards for Industry. In 1999, this time led by the Prince of Wales, the scheme became the Queen's Awards for Enterprise, although surprisingly still a lot of people refer to them as the Queen's Award for Industry. So there are basically, there were originally three categories: innovation, international trade, and sustainable development. In 2016, a fourth category was initiated, and that was promoting opportunity through social mobility. And the first award was in 2017, and I'm delighted one of our companies who will be speaking to us shortly were the winners of that award in 2018. The awards, as you can see, are not only promoted by the Lieutenancy, but are always announced on Her Majesty's birthday on the 21st of April. They actually come out a few days before. And if you want to make a note, although you can pick this up later, more information is not available on our website, which you can see there, but also quite easily picked up through Google on the Queen's Award for Enterprise website on the government site. Next slide, please. As far as winners, they receive, firstly, they're given the opportunity to attend a royal reception at Buckingham Palace. This was originally, until recently, hosted by Her Majesty the Queen. It's now hosted by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, although this year, unfortunately, that's unlikely to take place, obviously, and sorry for the current winners, but I believe they will be invited at a future date. The award itself, I tend to present at the company's premises. Other lieutenancies try and do it together, but I think it's much nicer for me and some of my deputy lieutenants who join me to actually visit the company's premises, to see exactly what you are doing, to learn a little bit more about your business. And I have to say, and I hope the companies who are going to talk to us, the winners are going to talk to us in a few minutes, will agree that they enjoy, I think, showing myself and others the business that has won the Queen's Award. You are able to fly the Queen's Award flag in your office, but perhaps more importantly, use the emblem on advertising, stationery, etc., etc. And again, I'm sure the company is going to talk to us in a few minutes, will tell us all how important that has been. I know one friend of mine who won it, it boosted his international trade, particularly in Asia, enormously. And I think anything where you see a royal crown and Her Majesty's name mentioned goes down exceptionally well internationally. A grant of appointment, which is actually quite a beautiful signed document, is given. It's something I give out together with a rather beautiful, heavy and delicate crystal bowl. And the awards are valid for 5 years. However, people can apply again after 3 years. And of course, you're not restricted. You can actually apply in all 4 categories. And there are companies who have won in 2, 3 and 4 categories, even in the same year. So there's nothing stopping a company from applying in all categories. And I think one of the most important things that not a lot of people understand is this is the only Royal Queen's Award that is self-nominated. All the others, including things like the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service, are nominated by somebody else in much the same way as honours are nominated by an individual. The Queen's Award for Enterprise is the only Queen's Award that is self-nominated. So you put yourself forward, and again, I'm sure we'll hear from the winners in a few minutes exactly what that involves and how complex the process is. And as you can see, winners have reported benefiting from recognition, as you can well imagine. Can we go on to the next slide, please? So the applications, you can see here the criteria, which are fairly straightforward. You must be a UK-based company, have at least 2 full-time UK employees or part-time equivalents, file your tax returns with HMRC, and be a self-contained enterprise, markets its own products or services, etc., etc., and demonstrate strong corporate social responsibility. Now, when this goes to the sifting committee, this is something that is looked at quite significantly. It is a key part. They want companies who do respect CSR. And of course, at the moment, many companies are being extremely generous, not only here in Hertfordshire, but across the entire UK. So that is something that a lot of people don't realise. And of course, most companies, and certainly all the winners, do have a very strong CSR commitment. The awards are free, and obviously they have to be now submitted online. Next slide, please. In 2020, there were 220 winners throughout the whole of the UK. There have been, as I put here, there have been about 7,000 winners to date. That's going back to 1966, which I think strongly emphasizes the power and the kudos that this award carries with it. So if you think about it, since 1966, throughout the entire UK, there have only been 7,000 winners of the Queen's Award. And this year, throughout the whole of the UK, this is not only England, this is all 4 parts of the UK, there were 220 winners. And you can see, obviously, that the largest category is international trade. And I will come back to that in a second. Innovation, sustainable development, and promoting opportunity, the most recent one. There were only 7 winners this year, which is typical. So the winner that we had, who were Wilmot Dixon 2 years ago, is something that we're quite proud of. What I'm extremely proud of is that of the 128 international trade category winners this year, Hertfordshire companies won 8 of those awards. Now, to put that into context, London, which one would expect, Greater Manchester, were the, I think, and yes, we're the only 2 areas, and they're not even counties, who won more awards for international trade. So that means that in the whole of the UK, Hertfordshire companies won more than any other county in the international trade category. And that is something I'm immensely proud of. And this year, 8 awards was our most successful year ever, beating last year by 1. Last year we won 7. There is a certain, how can I put it? There's a certain feeling between the various Lord Lieutenants, and we all talked to each other immediately after the results came out. And I'm delighted to say I was absolutely inundated with congratulations from Lord Lieutenants all around the country. It does make me immensely proud to think that eight of our companies won companies in Hertfordshire won 8 of the 128 International Trade Awards. So it really is quite outstanding, but we can do better. Next slide, please. Here's a list of the 8 winners this year. I won't go through them all. I'm delighted that 2 of them were in my own area of Rickmansworth, but obviously they come from all over the county and are in a wide variety of businesses. And I think both Breege, Jeremy and Mark will agree that one of the strengths of business in Hertfordshire is the variety of businesses, the huge variety of businesses who succeed in this county. I would also point out, and I think this may come on in one of the other slides, that much to the surprise of most people, over 90% of the winners are SMEs. And I can tell you, in our group of winners, 2 of them had no more than 10 employees. And I presented an award last year to a company who had 6 employees. So there is this image that Queen's Awards for enterprise winners are normally big multinationals. Absolutely not the case. And as I say, over 90% were SMEs, which really should give everybody the impetus to think about applying. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is just a very brief photo of some of the presentations. I do tend to get dressed up in all my finery, for better or for worse, but it is a very joyous occasion. And again, I'm sure those winners who are with us will agree. Many of them make it into a real celebratory occasion, but particularly for the staff. I think everybody has said to me that this is not an award for the company so much, this is an award for the staff. And I think that is something that is very poignant and comes across certainly in the presentations. And normally this becomes a whole staff event, everybody joins in and everybody celebrates the success of the individual company's achievements. That's really all I have to say about the Queen's Award. I know there can be a number of questions. Breege, I don't know if we have time to take any questions. If not, then I'm very happy to take them at a later date, and it can be done either through the Chamber or directly through my office. I know there are many questions. I would just say that, as I've said before, I'm extremely proud of all the businesses in Hertfordshire. I think we are very lucky. We have an outstanding history of successful businesses in this county. Also, we have a very good entrepreneur system, or a system of entrepreneurs coming through. There are many hubs supporting that, and I'm delighted that we have been so successful this particular year. And I would encourage as many companies as possible at least to consider applying, because I want Hertfordshire to stand out again and again, year in, year, as the most successful business county in the whole country, and that we are at the moment, and it's something I hope will continue. So thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you, Robert. What an uplifting part of our day to hear how successful Hertfordshire has been. So we'll move swiftly on to hearing about the different companies that won in 2019. And it's with great pleasure that we'd like to introduce Dr. Robert Miller, who is the Chief Medical Officer and Managing Partner at Artemida Pharma Limited.
Thank you, Breege, and thank you very much for the opportunity of letting us join this launch meeting. Again, it's sad we can't be together, but we'll do the best we can with what we have. So really, I've just an opportunity to introduce a film that you're going to show in a moment, a little bit about our company. So Artemida Pharma Limited is actually quite well established now. We were established in 2014, but although we were formed then from drug development experts, we have actually been working together for many years. And what we do is we offer optimized strategic drug development from the product concept in medicines to clinical proof of concept, and mainly for biotech and pharma clients. We do other areas beyond a proof of concept, but we believe that for most companies, proof of concept, the idea that their medicine is likely to work in patients, is one of the key areas, particularly for small companies. So our experts have been involved for over 20 years, in fact, in providing the development planning for a number of therapeutic fields, but with a particular specialism in oncology, that's cancer, and in neglected diseases like malaria, for example. But we're also currently working in infection, including finding solutions to working clinical trials of patients with COVID-19, very current, and in managing those trials in different geographic areas. And this now needs to take on a new dimension to work in a world where there is a pandemic. It's certainly the first time in my lifetime that we've ever been in this situation, particularly in this country. So we have supported companies, as I said, usually small companies, but they have ranged from large multinational companies where we've been doing their sort of peri-approval program. That's the numbers of trials that they might do around the time when they're launching a new product, to really small micro startup companies in academia. Now, our principal office is based in the heart of one of the UK's leading biopharmaceutical scientific communities, which is the Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst here in Hertfordshire. And we also have an office in Strasbourg in France and an incorporated business in Ireland, which is Untitled Chapter Europe Limited. So in spite of being a young company, a time when applied for this award with clients mainly in the Far East in Europe, and we had first year in 2018 we did it is
Robert, we're
there is a lot of paperwork, but it's, trust me, very worthwhile. Sorry, can you hear me now?
We're losing you, Robert. The sound isn't great. So should we move on to your video? It might be a better sound. I think we've lost Robert. Sarah, would you like to play the video, please? And we've lost sound again. Okay.
Can you hear anything?
No, we can't hear the video at all.
All right, okay.
You might want to replay it, actually, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about losing sound from me. Can you hear me now?
We can indeed, but we're going to play your video again, Robert.
Yes.
To get some sound.
Thanks very much. Anyway, I hope you find the film interesting.
Thank you.
As a drug development consultancy, we entered the Queen's Award in the international trade division of the award. That's because most of our work is with clients who are actually not in the UK. We have clients actually ranging from Australia all the way through to the United States.
We use a network of expert consultants to help us deliver projects, and we also work with clinical research organizations and contract manufacturing organizations located worldwide.
Well, of course, we were delighted to have that recognition. We did feel that, we'd done particularly well for a company which has essentially had 5 employees.
Well, to be honest, we thought it was a bit of a long shot at the beginning, but we saw that we actually met some of the initial criteria, which were mainly about growth of the company. Well, we were a very young company, but nonetheless, we had 3 years of sales.
The Queen's Award is an example of us receiving recognition from an external body that our company has been successful over a period of years.
So the application for the Queen's Award can be found online, and the instructions are well presented there, with a help desk and a helpline for people who very openly and in very great detail provide you with the answers that you need to complete it. And you can plan it up front, so actually you can print the form off and fill it in as necessary as you go through, and very wide ranging. So it has also about environmental impact, which obviously as a drug development company might not be immediate, but obviously we do feel that we are actually able to contribute. Plus your social contribution as a company. We do a lot of teaching and mentoring of young people so that they stay in science and stay motivated in science and go on to university. So we were able to use that as examples.
The actual award ceremony took place here at the Stevenage Bioscience Catalyst, where the Lord Lieutenant for Hertfordshire came and presented the award. And so it was very, very nice. We invited anyone from SBC to come, as well as the senior management of the group. So it was a very nice day, very nice afternoon, and we were all very pleased to be able to receive that award.
It gives us an enormous sense of pride to have participated and to have contributed to essentially what the Queen's Award is about, which is about recognising talent and skills and innovation in the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much, Dr. Robert Miller and Artemida Pharma Limited. Now we'll move on to our next winner, which is a company called OPRO, and I'd like to introduce Dr. Anthony Lovat, the Managing Director. Hello, Anthony, you might need to unmute yourself.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lord Lieutenant, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just give a brief introduction to a video which tells much more about ourselves. OPRO, we make mouth guards primarily. We've won the Queen's Award twice now, in 2007 and 2019, and both of those were related to innovation in the field of mouth guards. We're an SME, we've got less than 50 employees. I think what's fair to say is that both times we won the Queen's Award, it has made a seismic change to the trajectory of the company. And I would urge everyone who is looking at it to consider seriously applying. I like to think of ourselves as being special. We're special in what we do, but we're certainly not unique. There are so many special companies that are in Hertfordshire and around the country. And I guess at this particular moment in time with the COVID-19, it goes to also show how sometimes necessity becomes the mother of innovation. So I'll say no more for now, apart from to wish everyone good health, and love to show you our video. OPRO has come a long way. I started it back in '97, and for the first 10 years, it was simply purely a custom mouthguard operation where all we made was custom mouthguards for particularly school kids or professional sports players all around the country. I saw an incident which made me think about changing my direction of career. And that was when I was watching a lacrosse match. And lacrosse is a sport where you use a stick and a ball, and the ball is very hard, flying around at head level.
And someone was throwing a pass to my daughter who was playing in the match, and another girl got in the way, caught a ball in her mouth, and knocked out a couple of her front teeth. Now, I, being the dentist in the area, popped onto the pitch, found the teeth, stuck them back into her mouth. We splintered them in place, but afterwards I asked her, why weren't you wearing a mouth guard? Because mouth guards are mandatory. And she said, well, my mouth guard's loose, it's horrible. So I show it to the referee at the beginning of the match, and I put it in my sock. So that gave me pause for thought, and I was always somewhat entrepreneurial, I guess, and I considered maybe change of direction of career to actually prevent the injuries rather than what I've been doing previously, which was fixing them. And so at that time, OPRO, O stands for oral and PRO stands for protection, was born. I set it up in my dining room, I sold my practice, and off I went. 2007 was an interesting year because we won our Queen's Award for the first time. And that, to a degree, changed the direction of where we were travelling. It gave us a lot of exposure. We decided to apply for the Queen's Award this time for the SnapFit because it's a new product of ours. It's innovative. We've got patents now for it, and it has proven commercial success. It's been very successful for us. And those are the ingredients for which you need to have in order to win the Queen's Award. So it seemed something that we'd like to do, and we were very successful in winning it again. The application process, I've heard said, is complicated. I think it's more robust, it's very detailed, it's a bit like taking a fairly serious exam, but once one sits and goes through it and has a look at all the various parts, it's not actually that difficult. If there's a story that a company has to tell, then that's the platform. The application is a platform to tell the story. There is effort, but it's worth it. I mean, the Queen's Awards is a great catch. We have a PR agency, and obviously once they'd heard about it, they put the word out. And I actually was involved with so many interviews for that period of time, some very specifically about the Queen's Award, and some actually which are more about a product that caused the particular presenter to want to ask questions, but they wouldn't have been in contact had it not been for the Queen's Award. So I ended up being on BBC Breakfast TV, on Sky TV, we've been in the Financial Times, on Forbes. It really has pushed our PR position up very greatly. The day of the presentation itself was absolutely amazing. We decided to hold everything here, and we had the Lord Lieutenant himself and some of his deputies, the High Sheriff, we had the local mayor, the local MP, we had a huge number of dignitaries, and there was a complete buzz around the office. All our staff, of course, were here. We also had an awful lot of suppliers and stakeholders and partners that we have around the country travelling from quite a distance to join us here. And the dignitaries were just superb, supremely wonderful with all the staff. And altogether, it was a fantastic occasion. So if you have an innovative product, an innovative service, if there's commercial success which you can attribute towards it, then absolutely 100% I'd recommend giving it a bash. It is career changing for a company. Certainly when we first won in 2007, it made an almighty difference to the direction we were going. And all I can say is the rewards in the sense of PR, in the sense of marketing, and in the sense of how your own staff and suppliers and customers relate to what you're doing is beyond compare.
Thank you very much, Anthony. A real insight into a very different product as well. It's great pleasure now that we introduce Lint Bells and Dr. John Howie, who's the Chief Executive and co-founder.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation to join you this morning. A little bit about Lint Bells, first of all. So we are a company based in the countryside just north of Stevenage, founded back in 2006. And we make nutritional supplements for dogs, cats and horses. So we're hopefully keeping the nation's dogs running around happily during these lockdown times. The business has been a high growth business right the way through its history. And we now are very fortunate to not only be the supplier of the UK's #1 joint supplement, but we're also distributing in a number of international geographies across Europe, Asia, and more recently the US. The awards themselves, we actually have been very fortunate to have been awarded 2 awards. The first was for innovation for our UMove joint supplement in recognition of the work that we did with another local institution, the Royal Veterinary College down South Mims there, North Mims, sorry. And then the second is for international trade in recognition of some of the development that we've done across, particularly across the Asian geographies, where we've seen great growth. And more recently, we've now launched into the US as well. The awards have been particularly good for us in terms of credibility. Certainly as a relatively young company trying to make our mark in the veterinary industry, for example, the Queen's Award was particularly useful for us from a credibility point of view. And from an international trade point of view, it gives us huge recognition in those geographies. Although I must admit, when we launched at the US Veterinary Conference at the start of this year, some people thought we were the source of information for what was happening with Harry and Meghan rather than what we were doing from an innovation point of view. Nevertheless, it's been very good for us, and as others have said, fantastic for our team as well. We've been really fortunate, and our team's been very proud of what they've achieved and been recognised through these awards. So you'll see on this video, there's a couple of our team, our Chief Commercial Officer and our International Marketing Officer, talking about the awards and what it's done for us. Thank you.
The business has been around for about 12 years now. We do pet supplements. We operate across a number of different supplement categories. The one that we're most famous for is joint supplements, and we have a brand called UMove. And UMove is the #1 joint supplement, both in the veterinary channel in the UK, where we enjoy about 60% share, and also in the retail category, where our share is probably higher than 60%. There are many, many dogs in the UK that suffer from joint issues, you know, all the way at one end of the scale to having fairly severe osteoarthritis, right into the just a bit creaky because they're just a little bit old. And we have a product within the UMove franchise that will address all of those levels of joint issue. And what it does is it makes the dog a lot more comfortable. So what it means is that we talk about this brand promise of being active for life. And that's what we want to do here. We want to make sure that every dog has as active a life as possible for as long as possible. We wanted to apply for a Queen's Award because it had always been a goal of the two co-founders, John Howie and John Davis, because it's a real marker that the business has come to a point where it's recognised.
The application process itself, it's very easy to apply online. It's a simple registration process and the forms are very easy to use. What I would say is that it does take a lot of preparation to actually get everything ready, to tell the right story, and so that you can give yourself the best chance at success. I spent a significant number of hours in the actual putting together the application. I was going to give advice on actually doing the process for the application. 1, prepare. 2, prepare. And 3, ask for help if you need it. We wouldn't have been able to do it without the support of the entire business. The benefits of having the Queen's Award have been huge, really. We have distributors all around the world, and they're able to have that extra level of confidence in us as a brand, but also when they're talking in their business-to-business relationships, they're able to offer them a product that both has clinical proof, but also does have that extra little seal of approval that comes with the Queen's Award, and having that logo really does make a difference.
We were recently in the US. We did 2 vet congresses, really enormous ones, probably about 35,000 vets and vet professionals in Florida and Vegas. The Queen's Award is intriguing for them because all of the people in the US want to know about the Queen, and they were especially interested in Prince Harry and Meghan at these particular congresses. And it's a great conversation starter. So when we're discussing with international partners, whether it's people to sell to, agencies, people to partner with, it gives them a real sense of assurance that they are dealing with a business that is good at what it does. Having the Union Jack on our products, on our communications is a good thing, but having the Queen's Award really elevates you, I think, above the competition.
The Queen's Award for International Trade, I was actually lucky enough to go with John Howie to the reception at Buckingham Palace. You meet a huge range of really, really interesting business people. There's the royal family mingling. It's just, the whole experience is something really special. For the actual receiving of the award, we set up a marquee on the farm on site. We had the entire company come along. We invited all of our international partners, as well as a large number of our UK partners. We had some of our customers there. And so everyone really got to experience the joy, really, that you get from being able to achieve something like this.
I'd really encourage every other business to apply. It's the way that it's infused the business and given us even more energy to make the business bigger, more exciting, help more cats, dogs and horses across the world.
Thank you, Lint Bells and John Howie. We're now going to move on to our final winner, and that's Wilmot Dixon. And Richard Davidson can't be with us today, but he has prepared a little video that we're going to show now.
Hello, my name is Richard Davidson. I'm a director at Wilmot Dixon Construction, and I've been asked to talk today about the Queen's Awards, what they mean to us, and to provide you any hints and tips and some insights to what it means and how to move forward. So the first time we went for a Queen's Award was back in 2012. We were recognised in our sector as one of the leaders in sustainable development, and we were looking for other ways to validate our performance and for more people outside of the construction sector to recognise the good work that we were doing. And the Queen's Awards fit that bill. They are a mark of excellence that is recognised nationally and internationally. And one of the benefits of the Queen's Awards is that we had experts from outside of our sector looking at us and asking us difficult questions, good, difficult questions. And back in 2012, we were unsuccessful. And that was probably one of the most beneficial learnings that we got. It made us start to change the way we did things. We made some tweaks to the way we collected our evidence, to the way we held our data, to some of our operations. And once we've done that, actually, we'd realised that it was a business improvement tool, initiative. So in 2014, when we applied again and we were successful, we were overjoyed. The hard work that we put in, the hours of understanding our business, of improving our business, were paying off. And that was recognised because we had the Queen's Award throughout our sector and with our customers in both the public and the private sector. And the feeling is amazing. This is something that is really hard to achieve, but when you get it, people recognise its value. And that is something that I don't think any other award or any other accreditation we hold can achieve. Since winning the award, I believe we've had more respect from our peers and our customers. We get greater acknowledgement. So one of the great things about being a Queen's Award winner is that actually you meet other people from different sectors who have received the same award. And actually there's some great learning out there. You meet some fantastic people. And I'm always about learning from others and finding the best way of doing things. So would we do it again? Absolutely. So we have been the amazing recipients of the Queen's Award 3 times. So for sustainable development in 2014 and once again in 2019. And then for promoting opportunity in 2018, which was all around our social value works. And that was a really tough one to get. We were the first in our sector to achieve that. And you know, we're rightly proud of every single time we've won an award. So we will do it again. It helps us get better. People recognise that we have to get better to get the award more than once. And I think the tips that I would pass on are: be prepared to look at all your activities. Don't underestimate how much evidence you need. This isn't saying it's a nightmare. It isn't just a paper trail. This is all about, you know, for me, being a business leader, recognising what we do and making sure that we can demonstrate that beyond just that feeling sometimes you get. But don't be put off by that, because you learn so much about your business, so much about your people, and so much about yourself when you go for this. And then when you've come out the other side and you've got your award and you meet others, you recognise that expertise, that diligence, and that pride. So absolutely, we will enter again. It's made us better. I love meeting other Queen's Awards winners, learning from them, sharing our experiences, And I'm more than happy to talk to others who are considering going for this award, helping you and encouraging you to go for this, because being a Queen's Award winner is one of the best things that we've ever achieved. So thank you, and I'll see you all again. Goodbye.
Lovely, thank you, Richard. We'll be in touch in the week, I'm sure. We speak quite regularly. Before we go on to the summary and the acknowledgements, Lord Lieutenant Robert would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Breege. Firstly, just a message to Wilmot Dixon. You won 3 awards, which is absolutely brilliant, but I will tell you that the record holder at the moment is JCB, who have won 30 to date. So we have a little way to go. Just what somebody has just asked me whilst we've been on this webinar, how their current sales are going to affect their application. And this is something, obviously, sales affected during the COVID crisis could significantly affect the figures you put in for this year, particularly in the international trade category, of course. The Lord Lieutenants Association and myself, and particularly one other Lord Lieutenant, have been in discussion with the Queen's Award Enterprise Office, which is at the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, BEIS, and they do recognise that obviously this is a peculiar year. So what I'm saying is, don't let this year put you off. Put your figures in. There will be, the adjustments will be accepted. It will be acknowledged that this is a very unusual and very difficult year. Previous history will come into effect, into play, but don't let your figures this year put you off applying. In fact, if anything, I would say this year may be an easier year because other companies may decide this is not their year to apply. So I would encourage you this year to apply. And I would also like to add that the applications are now open and close on September the 9th. Thank you, Breege.
Thank you very much, Robert. So Mark Bretton from the LEP has said that he will take some questions, but if I know some people have to get onto their next Zoom call, that's live these days. So if I just do some thank yous and acknowledgements, anybody who wants to stay on the call to ask Mark some questions, the Chamber will stay on that call as well. But if you have to go, we absolutely fully understand. So I'd like to first of all thank our Lord Lieutenant Robert Voss for the inspiring slides and talk that he's done. I mean, I want to enter now. He's got us all geared up, ready to and fired up to think, in a time of adversity, this is the time to actually enter the awards. I'd also like to thank Mark Bretton from the Hertfordshire Local Enterprise Partnership for giving us a really excellent overview of what the LEP actually does. And then finally to our winners, our 2019 winners, I'd like to thank them all for taking part and making a video. So that's Artemida Pharma Limited, Oakpro International Limited, Lint Bells Limited and Wilmot Dixon. And the first 3 videos that you've seen were very, very well put together by our patron Pearl Drop Production Videos from Stevenage. So we'd like to thank them as well. So the next thing just to say is that we will be doing 2 workshops over the summer. I guess they'll be virtual, we don't know, but we will be putting them together. All those details will be on our website, but please contact us if you're interested. You only have to pick up the phone or just drop us an email and we'll give you all the information in advance. So Mark, if there are any questions, if you could raise your hands. Well, I'm not seeing any questions. Nobody's raising their hands.
No worries.
Okay, lovely. Well, Mark has said if you think of something after the event, because we have bombarded you with quite a lot of information this morning, he's open to taking those questions. And anything that you need to know, if you just pass it through the Chamber, we'll make sure that he gets to know. And thank you everybody for taking part. It is difficult to sit still for a full hour with a screen in front of you. So we very, very much appreciate your time. And we do hope that you will take up the challenge and you'll enter, and we'll see you on the next launch, and you could be a winner as well. Thank you very much.